well, what is my market opportunity, or how do I actually research the market as a whole? So can you touch on kind of the different angle that you guys are looking at the data? Because honestly, it's nothing like what I've seen before. Welcome to the Post Purchase Pro podcast.
This is the only podcast that dives deep into post-purchase marketing to help Amazon sellers increase sales, ranking, reviews, and profits. It's everything that happens after the initial sale that makes a difference. We call this the back end.
This is the Post Purchase Pro podcast, and today we have another very, very special guest, Scott Needham. Scott is a longtime Amazon seller himself, entrepreneur, and he's also the founder of Smart Scout, which is an amazing tool that we're going to be talking about some today. Because honestly, Scott, when you kind of unveiled this to me a couple months ago, it blew my mind. I've never seen anything like this at all. We're going to be getting into your background and all of it. But for now, Scott, let's start at the very beginning. How did you become the Scott Needham of today? Where did you start? And bring us up to date, Scott.
Sure. Thanks for having me on the show. So my background, computer engineering. I spent way too long in school learning about things that I don't use completely today, but I did learn how to program. And so while I have been selling a lot for a long time on Amazon, it's actually always from the capacity of a software developer. I was either building, automation and inventory management, because in 2012, there were no tools. There was no community. There was no so we kind of had to build things from scratch. My brother was scaling a wholesale business to over, I think when I joined, it was already at 8 million a year, and then got it to, we built it to about 50 to 60 million a year. And with software, it actually was less stressful when we were bigger than when we were small. So big believer in technology and using very slight changes to improve your business.
Yeah, that's amazing, Scott. So you kind of came from the computer science world and the data world, right? And then you stepped into your brother's business where he was building a business, and you got to see kind of the Amazon opportunity. Is that kind of where you kind of dipped your toes in?
Yeah, you don't spend a lot of time on Amazon to see it as a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
It's just the sheer number of products, the volume, and I was kind of hooked. If you, most people can remember some of their first sales online. I think my first one was the iPod Nano. I think the fourth generation. It was the little skinny one, didn't have a touch screen yet, and they stopped making it. All of a sudden, I was like, okay, here's an opportunity. And I went around my town and I found 8 of them. And I was able to sell them for $150 more than I bought them. So that feeling kind of hooks you to e-commerce.
Yes.
And it's a good addiction. It's kind of like a very new modern game.
Yeah, Scott, that's so funny. I remember vividly the very first couple of sales that I got on Amazon as well, because it's this can work, but not only can it work, but it's something that can happen that's bigger than me. It can happen while I'm doing something else. I took those sales while I was doing a different job, so it kind of expands your mind. So Scott, you kind of jumped in with your brother. It sounds like you guys were very, very successful, but you were using software to kind of help you along the journey. And then 18 months ago, you kind of take a different trajectory, and you start looking at building something else. So let's talk about Smart Scout a little bit, Scott.
Yeah, so 2017, small and light program. If you're familiar, it's it's an FBA program for where I think that the FBA fee is $1 less for small and light products. And they finally got it right where we saw an opportunity, and we started selling, we moved a lot of our wholesale business over to that. And I was fascinated with what it could be. If you could beat everyone else by $1 on a sale, we were doing thousands of sales a day through this program. And so I wanted to find the best small and light opportunities, because literally any product, if we could source it, we could beat them. And So what I did is started, just scraping, category after category. And then I was like, well, I've got all this data. How about I organize it in a way that like makes sense for us around, a brand? And it didn't take, only took like 2 or 3 weeks before I was like, oh my goodness, this is like a map of Amazon. And then the more like I iterated on that, the more I was like, okay, this actually solves other different problems I didn't know I had, or I did, but I didn't know this would be a solution. Because when you're looking at Amazon, like there really are hundreds of thousands of brands, and I wanted to know what's the best brands to that fit our ideal profile right now, and like what could I do today? Of the million brands, what are the 100? What are the best 100 that like I think that we can work with? So what we did is we took that huge data set, threw on filters, and then you could really find interesting things. So that's where it started. And I knew if I was going to make an interesting tool, like we couldn't end there. We'd have to do some more things. And so fortunately, we've grown our dev resources, and I actually am not programming nearly as much anymore. I got a team to help me out, and I mean that's just kind of the origin story, as you can say.
Yeah, Scott. So I was actually on your podcast here several weeks ago, and before we kind of kicked the call off, you were just kind of showing me some of the things that Smart Scout could do, and one of the things that pops out at you immediately is you're basically showing the store sales for Samsung, the brand, and you're showing the store sales for these huge stores, and you're like, that's really interesting. Like I never would have been able to kind of calculate in my own mind like that Samsung's doing it, and you probably have it off the top of your head, but it's like $58 million a year or $250 million a year, something ginormous, right? But then it's like, okay, well, this could be really useful when you start looking at the markets as a whole, and you could say, okay, well, I have this competitor in my niche, and let's go and look at what they're doing as a store. Like, what is my potential here? What is my potential in this market? And then I know, Scott, how Smart Scout is a little bit different than a lot of the other tools out there is. A lot of the other tools are focused on like product research and things like that, but you guys take a different stance and you say, okay, well, what is my market opportunity, or how do I actually research the market as a whole? So can you touch on kind of the different angle that you guys are looking at the data? Because honestly, it's nothing like what I've seen before.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like a bird's eye view, like say, yeah, I love Jungle Scout Helium 10. They revolutionized and were some of the first very successful tools, and they showed a lot of products. You could just like see product and really kind of get lost in that data. But I actually think there's a new power to be unlocked if you organize that data into markets. Like there's 40,000 subcategories of Amazon, and some of them actually are kind of saturated, and a lot of them aren't. And you wouldn't be able to figure that out until you really like jump in to see if they're like, if I see a market that's dominated by like 2 or 3 players, I'm like, well, there could be some more space here. When I start to see like 30 brands and each of them have like 1% market share, I'm like, okay, I'll move on this. So we really take the bird's eye view, organize around a brand, organize around like the categories of Amazon, and really it's like every other week we expose like a new data point, which you can filter around and see something more. And so on its own right, like, well, I definitely built it with like the wholesalers in mind, but when it comes to like private label, it's a competitor research tool, and I'm going to be honest, it's really good at competitor research. And because you can really get lost and see what they're doing, and to make sure it's not necessarily that our estimates are like dead on. It's more about showing our work, where we like, you're like, okay, we have these estimates across these products, and we're like, this is what we estimate the revenue that they're doing. We show the sales ranks, we show the reviews on each variant, stuff like that, that you can't, you don't need to estimate because you just see it.
Yeah, so Scott, I will echo your point. It is really, really good. I've not been as excited about a tool as your guys' in a really long time. And one of the reasons why is because you guys pull in so many data points about each individual seller and each brand. And you can use that in so many different ways. So for instance, you can kind of pinpoint what is the seller's store sales, but you can also look at what are the seller's sales per product. And then you can also look at, well, where is this seller located? Like, what's the physical address and what's the legal name of this business without having to do all this digging. And then, Scott, one of the things that we use in our business when we're doing product sourcing is we actually use that seller information to do a reverse lookup on the customs import records, and then we can kind of locate a supplier for a similar product. So you can use this data in all kinds of different ways as a private label seller. But Scott, what are you seeing, since you guys have so much access to the data and you're serving a lot of sellers, what are you seeing, like, where is having access to market research and competitor data, where is that helping the most? Where are you seeing this fill kind of the gaps?
Yeah, there's two. I'll answer that in two ways. There's one. There's a lot of agencies out there, people or launching products. Actually, kind of does this where the data isn't. It's not like you're going to like use that data to change your business, but it will defend your idea of like, okay, I see what the market is. I want to like change it in this way. So agencies use it a lot because if they're pitching a client, they want to show them like what the opportunity is. So that's definitely something that like I think we do better than anyone else. Where we are moving towards is more of the immediate action items, such as the keyword data. We do have a tool inside that's called Ad Spy, where we are tracking win rates on ad placements. So like, say on the search term pre-workout, if you're advertising on a, like that drink pre-workout, Amazon will tell you, how much, impression share you're getting and all that, but they won't tell you who your competitors are, and they won't tell you how much they're winning. So, and even down to the to the long tail keywords. So you can see other people's marketing plans. You can see if they're investing in sponsored brands or sponsored brands video or sponsored products, just kind of the mix that they do. So you can use this to supplement your marketing and advertising. We're doing more here. I literally just came off of the demo of where we're going, where we're building what we call a relevancy quadrant, show you the most relevant keywords and then sort that by estimate search volume. So, watch out, world.
Well, Scott, I've been blown away by everything that you guys can do inside the tool. I know you guys have some free features that that sellers can check out, right? Like your map tool, which allows you to see kind of the sellers across the United States or across the world and kind of zoom in. Like I know you were kind of showing me, like if you zoomed into California, you can see like a visual representation of all the different sellers that are actually based in California, what they sell, their stores, their store volume and all that. So Scott, how should people look to engage you guys and to check out what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, there is a free trial. We when I launched, I didn't want to do a free trial. I was like, this is too much value up front. And I didn't even have like a monthly subscription. I was like, okay, you gotta join me for a year if I'm gonna give you all this data. But then we moved on, and smarter people convinced me. It's like, well, you gotta give people a free trial, let them check it out. And like that map, like, you could jump in on it. I think we give people 15 minutes for free. And I'll tell you a little secret. All you have to do is open up an incognito mode browser. You could keep using it. And so if anything, I'm trying to do more of that, more value up front.
Yep.
We even have some reports that like I don't think anyone's seen or heard of. One report is we are showing every seller that's been suspended in the last few months. So you can we're showing a report on estimate advertising revenue by each brand. And the story there is Amazon actually advertises more on their own channel than anyone else. They are taking a ton of placements, which, that's a conversation for another day. But, we're trying to give more and more value, and there's a lot of ways to kind of jump into the tool to do that.
I love it. So I guess the best place to go then is smartscout.com. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. So Scott, before we jump out of here, we like to ask all of our guests a couple fun questions here at the end. So first and foremost, Scott, what is your favorite business book?
Shoot. Actually, my favorite business is not. I've read 0 to 1. I recommend that. Moneyball, super awesome. If you take the baseball concept that they have, it applies to so many other things. I've jumped all in on a podcast called My First Million, and I've listened to 60 hours in the last 30 days. What I like about it is it's like a very business idea podcast, no politics. They're having fun. It's my favorite.
Amazing. So great recommendations. I can tell that you're a data guy when you're recommending Moneyball. I like that the movie as well.
Yeah.
So Scott, the last question here is an even more fun question. What is something that you splurged on? You made the purchase, but you didn't regret it.
Wait, say that again.
You made a splurge purchase, but you did not regret it.
Ooh, oh shoot.
It can be small or big. What is it, Scott?
No question. One of my best purchases I've ever made. In 2016, a girl dumped me, and that's how you have to rebuild yourself for a few months. Well, about the second month into it, I heard a story about someone having a convertible, and I was like, okay, I got to go buy a convertible. And I found the least expensive convertible in the entire state, and it was $1,500 for a 1989 Ford Mustang convertible. It doesn't look special at all, but guess what? It drives around, and it's convertible. I just can't believe that we get stuck in these super expensive cars when you can get so much of that enjoyment for less than $2,000. And I've let my family drive it around and whatever. It's just loved it.
I love it, Scott. So that's so funny. For a long time, I always thought convertibles were something that I would never enjoy. I always kind of looked down on the convertibles, but then we rented this convertible Mustang and we drove the journey from LA to Las Vegas, and we drove through Death Valley in a convertible. And it was the best thing ever. It feels like you're on a motorcycle almost, Scott. So I agree with you. Convertibles are awesome, especially convertible Mustangs. So Scott, this has been amazing. So before we jump out of here, any parting words of wisdom?
Sure. Well, I'll just say a trite expression, but it's true and it applies to every single day, is the idea of, working smarter, not harder. If you're working on the wrong idea, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it's the wrong idea. So do spend some time to think about what is working smarter, challenge what you're doing today to see if you can do it better.
Absolutely. All right, Scott, thanks so much for joining us. I look forward to hosting you on an upcoming webinar that we're going to be rolling out here very, very soon. So for now, guys, this has been the Post Purchase Pro podcast with our very special guest, Scott Needham. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.